Okay, here we are. People still coming in? There's a couple folks? Okay. Okay. I was thinking, whoa. Is this loud? Yeah. Hi, everybody. How's this volume? It's still it's kind of echoey. It's different than usual, isn't it? A little bit? Yeah? This is better, no? Is this better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, great. I would say I don't do this very often, but I was thinking it'd be nice to have you guys get to know each other a little bit. I thought maybe just, hi, you. A lot of old friends are showing up tonight. It's fun to see you. I was thinking maybe turn to the person to your left or right, whatever feels best and works for your row that you're in, or behind you or in front of you. I don't know. Just start to look around and just take a couple minutes to say, hi, my name is, and maybe what brings you here. And you can make a group of 3. Much better. Yeah. How about your house? It's a lot, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's just great. So I'm still in the beginning range. I can't fight it out years, but it's still I try not to think about it. I'm trying to 1 year ahead, 1 year more. Oh, that is my blissful time. So going to the beach every day. How long is you guys coming to school? I've been wanting to people up there are real nice. Okay. I know. How many people met somebody new tonight? Most of us, right? Yay, good. Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Last week we had a Feeding Your Demons kind of interval. Every 6 to 8 weeks, more or less, I'll offer that practice. And then, but for the most part, we're plugging along in these pithy slogans called the mind training slogans, Lojong. So tonight we'll keep going with that. You can come consistently and feel the whole arc of these 59 slogans that are really juicy and interesting. Some are really kind of hardcore Dharma, like the one we've been working with the last couple of weeks. Others are more lighthearted, like, be grateful to everyone or don't expect applause. There's some fun ones that are a little bit less technical. And all of them are geared towards helping us live a life imbued with Dharma, and also, in particular, to transform all adversity, all felicity into the path of awakening. That is the main theme of the mind training slogans from Atisha, who was a great Mahayana or great vehicle Buddhist teacher from India who went up into Tibet and taught these teachings, really the root of these teachings around the 10th century. And then they grew and developed. And the slogans that we are studying in this class come from a text on mind training by a disciple of the disciple of Atisha, so a couple generations later. Chekawa Yeshe Dorje consolidated and enhanced and added to some of the earlier teachings and kind of essentialized them into these 59 slogans. But there are other versions. They're all very interesting. But this is really one of the most popular ones in Tibet, but also in the West. I think probably because Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who was one of the first Tibetan teachers to really break on the scene in the United States in the 70s, translated this, taught it widely, and then his student Pema Chodron also made this her life practice and main teaching topic. So how many people know who Pema Chodron is? Yeah. Have you read any of her stuff? Bit? Yeah? Good. A really fun, it's really kind of colloquial publication of, my guess is some of her talks is called Start Where You Are. And that's a nice resource to have if you're curious about reading more about mind training. That's a good classic book by Pema Chodron. And then how many people know who Trungpa Rinpoche is or Chogyam Trungpa is? Yeah, so it's quite a controversial figure, but nobody would argue with the fact that he was brilliant and was a very good teacher and translator for the Western mind of Dharma. He founded Naropa in Boulder, and now it's a thriving university. Anybody here go to Naropa? Know of Naropa in Boulder? No? It's got really one of the first Buddhist psychology programs in the United States. Really good program if that's something that interests you and you're young and trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. That could be a good one. And so I have friends who've gone through the program. And actually one of my colleagues, another Tara Mandala apprentice teacher, Matthew McAndrew Jack, helped to design and establish it there. He's a really amazing human being. He just retired. But yeah. So I want to make a couple announcements before we dive into practice. I have a few events coming up that I want to share with you. This weekend, I'm teaching an online retreat on Saturday and Sunday, kind of more towards the first half of the day, called One Ground, Two Paths, Two Results. So I taught it at Esalen, and Mark was there about a month ago, a month and a half ago, and it's a really cool topic that has my imagination on fire right now. It's a really beautiful teaching from a seminal text called the Aspirational Prayer of Samantabhadra. Samantabhadra is the primordial Buddha, and you would translate that name, Samantabhadra, meaning the all good one. He's all good. Tibetan is Kuntu Zangpo, which means, again, the all good one. But essentially, it's like this text is like consciousness, like awakened mind, downloading and talking to you directly. that is Samantabhadra. And it's a really cool text, and I'm going to draw more from it in this weekend retreat coming up, hosted by Tara Mandala. But we'll also do a little bit of yoga and feeding your demons practice, because the ground, path, fruit, you can learn about it and sort of intellectually understand it, but like in life, often the veils, our obstacles, our so-called demons, or our physical challenges can keep us from dropping back into the source, meaning the ground in this context. So those will be tools used to kind of retrace the path back to the ground. But we'll also study the view from the ground, meaning the kind of essential teachings on nature of mind, and then how various options of paths we can take from that original source are navigated, and then what the fruition of those chosen paths are. So we work from source, or from root to flower, and from flower back to root in that sense. So that's what I'm working on a lot these days behind the scenes. So that's Tara Mandala this weekend. Just if you're curious about that and these other ones, just Google my name. My website is chandraeaston.com, and all my stuff is there, all my retreats and classes. And streaming this course live can be found there too, and after the fact. A couple more things. I'll be at Esalen again after Christmas for a New Year's retreat, December 25th to the 31st. So the theme is releasing into presence, so expanding upon the theme of this class. And then I'm very excited about this. My book is coming out in December called Embodying Tara, 21 Manifestations to Awaken Your Innate Wisdom. So I translated the root text, retranslated it, and give teachings on the 21 different aspects of Buddha Tara, the divine feminine Buddha. And then I relate real life women to each of the Taras to help bring them alive. So that's the book that's coming out in December. We'll do a book signing here on December 16th, I think. Yeah, so more information will come out about that. But I've planned a retreat at Mount Madonna in February, President's Weekend, on the book. So it'll be a retreat, book signing. We'll dive into some of the material in that book, meditations, mantra recitation, and some yoga. Of course, I always do yoga. We always do a little bit of yoga and chanting and so on. So yeah, those are my announcements. Let's go ahead and do our opening prayer, which is, you should have that in a handout that you were given, I believe. Did that happen? You have it? Okay, great. So it's at the top of, and does anybody not have it? Okay, because you could borrow from a neighbor if you do. Okay. So we do this at the beginning of every class. We will do 11 repetitions tonight. And the translation is below the Sanskrit. This is the prayer that's at the top of page 1 to Narayani. It's from the 12th chapter of the Devi Mahatmya, a text celebrating the enlightened feminine in the Hindu tradition. Narayani is linked to Tara, the female Buddha of compassion. So it's another reason why I like to bring this prayer into this course. So I'll say the first line and you can repeat, and then the second line, repeat, and so on. Then we'll do it together 11 times. So let's close our eyes and take some breaths. Let ourselves land, releasing any of your kind of busy day tension with the out breath. Let yourself settle more deeply. And let each breath, in a sense, kind of massage the heart space a bit more open to receive the blessings of the Mother, the Great Mother, Narayani, or in any form that resonates with you. It's kind of like a blooming lotus in your heart opening to receive the dew, the moisture of blessings as we recite this prayer, which in a sense is asking for protection and guidance and blessings from Narayani. Sharanagata dinartha, Sharanagata dinartha, Paritrana parayane, Paritrana parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute, Sharanagata Dinartha, Paritrana Parayane, Sarvasyarti Hare Devi, Narayani Namostute. And now let's stand up for some movement. And then we'll sit in meditation. Okay. So take Stamba. We'll do the shadow yoga warm-ups that you've learned. Most of you have learned this before. So the heels are gently touching, the toes slightly turned out. You can be in front of your cushion or on top of it, whatever is good for you. Right hand and the left hand resting at the navel. Let the eyes rest at a comfortable angle towards the floor. And then soften the gaze, soften the face, the jaw, and the shoulders. Feel the belly breathe beneath the palms. Feel the tailbone heavy, drawing down towards the heels. And then feel the bones of the feet, the soles of the feet spreading and softening against the support of the floor. Let your mind inhabit the whole body. Good. And now release the hands, feet parallel. Right foot behind you a little bit with the weight on top of the toes. Keep your drishti, it'll help with balance. Arms down by your side. And rotating out. 1, 2. We'll do 10 reps in each direction. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Other side. Really root into that standing leg. It's a little more tricky on the cushion. And outward rolling. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Feet hip width distance apart and parallel. Now we come up to the head. Release the chin down, then to the right, rolling up and around. 1. We'll do 5 reps. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then reverse. 1. Relax the shoulders, relax the jaw. 2, 3, 4. Last one. 5. Coming around to center, inhale to face neutral. And take I got lost. Let's do the shoulders. So we're just working our way down the body. Small, medium, or large circles, whatever is good for your range of motion. Listen to your body here. 8, 9, 10, and reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Hands interlaced in front of the face. And rotate double time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now release down. Spiral to your right. 1, 2, right, left, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let the head go. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now come down with the arms and pick up the hips. The hips start to circle. 1, 2. Good. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Reverse. 1. So we move here to help iron out any kinks in the body. Also to give you a chance to move, because when we come down to practice meditation, I'm going to ask you to move as little as possible, if at all. Okay, so if you need to move, this is your time. You're letting off some steam. 8, 9, and 10. Bring the feet together. Bend the knees from the back of the knees, bending forward, hands above the knees. Circle the knees. 1, 2, looking down to the floor. Heels stay rooted. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. This is also when we start to harness the attention. So by focusing on your movement, you're actually practicing concentration. 9, 10. Then you're more set up to feel good when you meditate. So inhale, sarpa. Exhale, bend the knees and wave the spine forward and back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Inhale. We're going to go right into just sweeping the arms down with an exhale. Let them swing. And inhale again. One more time. Inhale. Good. Now just take a moment to shake it all out. Just any kind of knots or tightness, just even close. Let's all close our eyes so we don't care what we look like. Just get really weird. Whatever you need to do, or you can squat or lean forward, you can sigh, whatever feels good to you. Okay, good. So now let's float down like a fall leaf, coming back down to our seat. And we'll come into meditation practice. So I will guide practice as I usually do these days, which is from my back, because I have some back issues I'm working with. And I also want this to be an opportunity for you to try that. If you haven't done it before, if you felt like you couldn't, you totally can. It's a viable position. And also there are chairs in the back. There are more cushions. So take a moment here to really settle in and make sure you've got what you need to then sit or lie with as much stillness and ease as possible, not tense, not rigid. It's very liberating. True practice is learning to integrate the meditative awareness into every moment of your day. And so meditation doesn't just happen when you're seated in lotus or zazen. So once you settle and find your spot, then let's start with allowing the eyes to close. And feel that turning inward is a stepping into the portal of the inner space, that vast, mysterious, sometimes frightening, sometimes a place of refuge, that space of the mind, the heart. And that turning inward is that first step in a spiritual life. taking interest in what's going on behind the surface, layers of your being. And as you step through the portal, understand that the first ingredient to a successful journey is to feel relaxed. So let's take some time feeling the breath as it flows in and out of the body, particularly allowing the exhalation to imbibe a feeling of relaxation, of ease, this feeling of allowing yourself to just be as you are, whether the breath is deep or shallow. Let go of control and breathe at the natural rhythm that your body wants to breathe. With each breath, you're becoming a human being, meaning you are being here in this moment. Rather than the human doing, you're the human being in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. And let distraction that pulls you out of this being to fall away like an old coat. Just letting that go. Thoughts of the past, present, or future even. Release with the out-breath. And see how long you can rest in this moment with the breath and the body. This quality of being here now. Let yourself be. The next element to meditation, shamatha, is stability, continuity of attention from moment to moment. So without losing the first element of relaxation, start to gather your attention a little bit more with a very subtle touch. Just encouraging the awareness to alight upon the breath as it flows in and out of the body for the full cycle of the breath. The in breath, the pause at the top of the in breath, the out breath, pause at the end of the out breath, and so on. Feel it as a circle without beginning and end. See if you can thread your attention from breath to breath to breath, like you're threading a mala, releasing distraction with the out breath. And the third element of concentrated shamatha is clarity. So if there's a dullness or fogginess, see if you can turn up the light, the internal light, or clarify your attention like a cloudy sky clarified by a cool breeze. Feel that those clouds parting as you turn up the luminosity, the selva, the light, the wakefulness, but without losing the stability and the relaxation. So a balance of relaxation, stability, and clear or luminous attention. And if you've been lost in thought and you realize it, celebrate that. That's a win. That's the miracle of mindfulness. And then come back. So no heavy-handedness, no tightness. Feel light, relaxed, and spacious. And through that, a natural feeling of joy will bubble up from within you. Releasing distraction with the out-breath. And return to the flow of the breath and the field of sensations as the breath flows in and out, in and out. And now we'll introduce another element to the practice, which is to rest in the natural pause at the end of the out breath. So it's a gentle, natural exhalation. And then when you're empty, just rest there for a moment or two, whatever's comfortable. And then breathe in when the body wants to breathe in. So don't force anything. We're just slightly enhancing this pause at the end of the out breath. And feel that space that opens up at the end of the out breath before the in breath naturally draws in. And you may notice a feeling of greater spaciousness opening to you in that moment. So without losing that, allow that to infuse the in-breath. Maintain that quality of space, spacious awareness, that gap, this bardo between the exhalation and the inhalation. It's like a full release as you exhale and let go even more deeply. And then breathe in when the body wants to. Continue like this. And on the basis of this concentrated, relaxed mind, this shamatha, calm abiding, the vipassana naturally arises through the simple observing of the non-solidity of the breath itself. We name this phenomenon breath, but can you really designate the beginning, middle, and end of the breath? Or is the beginning the end and the end the beginning? Like the circle, there is no intrinsic beginning and end. It's continuous, and in the same way, the breath is arising and passing, and yet we label it as a thing. But you can't put your finger on the one moment that is the breath. In the same way, thoughts arise and pass. We hold them to be so real most of the time. And yet, when we really look at the source and destination of thoughts themselves, there's no pinpoint of a beginning, middle, and end of a thought. A memory is like painting on water. And yet we so often identify onto these thoughts as ourself, as our identity. And when we begin to see the empty nature, the impermanent nature of thoughts, feelings, likes, dislikes, sensations, then they have less of a hold over us. We have more freedom. And that is understanding the empty nature of thoughts, appearances. That is vipassana, clear, deep seeing into the nature of yourself and of reality. Shamatha, calm abiding, vipassana, special seeing, go hand in hand. Spend some time feeling into that so that you might even taste directly this impermanent, empty nature of your thoughts for yourself in these last few minutes. You can spend some time looking and then some time relaxing and resting with the breath at ease, letting yourself be. And then naturally another thought might bubble up, and look, where is that thought? And then release and rest again until the next thought. This is vipassana. And you could even look again. Who's looking? Go a layer deeper. Who's looking for thoughts? Who's meditating? Who's asking? Look and then release and rest in that experience of looking and then not finding. And yet there's awareness that's ever present, like the sun shining. And now release any effort, any technique, any looking, and just rest. Non-meditation. Good. And so now begin to shift out of this phase of meditation into the next, which might be a little movement if you want to lean forward or lie back for a moment, stretching the spine or coming up onto your feet and folding forward. Just take about, 30 seconds or so to tend to your body. See if you can blend the meditative state with the post-meditative state. So I kind of set you up in the meditation for the topic that I want us to explore together tonight, which is the wisdom or the faculty of our mind, which is wisdom, that realizes emptiness. So there's emptiness, or this teaching on impermanence and interdependence and emptiness, but what is it like to really understand it on various levels of your being, intellectually, then ultimately? So I want to explore that. And that's why I took you through, especially in the end of that meditation, into noticing the impermanent, empty nature of the breath, thoughts, feelings, and so on. So it's a little bit of an inquiry, more of like a wisdom, or like it's prajna, which is the Sanskrit word for wisdom, which is symbolized often by a sword, the sword of wisdom. Oftentimes, like with the Buddhas or the tantric representations of wisdom beings, like Manjushri, or usually just Manjushri, but there's also sometimes Prajnaparamita, the female expression of wisdom, is shown holding a sword ablaze with wisdom flames. And this sword cuts through delusion, confusion, with the clear seeing, with vipassana. So it's a very important concept, but it's also a very important experience to have if we're taking this path seriously. They say that you enter the path of seeing. There are 5 paths in the Mahayana. The third path is the path of seeing. And what defines entering that path is having a direct realization of emptiness. So it's a very important part of Buddhist practice in all of the streams, but mainly the Mahayana and the Vajrayana streams. The 2 later developments talk a lot about emptiness in this way, but the Buddha did too in the early Theravada teachings as well, of course. So did you have a sense of, if anything, even it didn't have to be like a big wow moment, but like, oh wow, I thought the breath was a thing called the breath, or, this self-contained moment or event or function, but really I couldn't pinpoint a beginning, middle, or end in terms of the relativity of the breath. Where is the beginning? Where is the end? Did you have a feeling like that? Or with thoughts? Maybe I'd like to hear from 1 or 2 people. Ariana?
Yeah, so for me, I felt very connected with like the elements, the 4 elements in general, and it felt to me like it was like the elements in my body. Like I was thinking of death actually, and how the elements just sort of dissolve from my body and disappear. Like sort of dissolve back into the natural environment. Like the breath is in my lungs now, but
Yeah.
the air, heat will go back into the heat, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was, I liked that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up, because that is a common, maybe you've learned this elsewhere, but that is a way to meditate on vipassana, to cultivate understanding of the empty nature of, in particular, the body. It's in the first foundation of mindfulness practice that focuses on the body, because in Buddhist understanding, like in Ayurveda, we're made up of the 5 elements of earth, fire, water, air, and space. There's space between the cells, space within the organs, and so on. And so those are the 5 in Ayurveda and Indian thought elements, different from the Chinese system. But we meditate on that, like the body dissolving back into those elements, especially at the moment of death. So sounds like you naturally fell into that of your own.
Normally for me, my natural place is with this sort of space.
Uh-huh.
This felt grounding.
Yeah.
For me.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it may have been also provoked by the feeding the demons thing.
Nice. Good. I'll take it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. We all have different dispositions. Some are more air types, some are more earth types. Earth water would be kapha, and the Ayurveda system. Tibetan medicine has the same structure. And then fire types also. Those are the 3 main doshas. Vata is air, pitta is fire, kapha is like mud. It's like earth and water put together. And depending on our dosha, our constituents, different meditation techniques will benefit us, right? So if I were working with you one-on-one, I might actually take what you just said to heart and then work with you more specifically around techniques that will help ground you, pacify the vata, because you definitely are a vata type, thin, tall, small boned, thin bones, intellectual, entrepreneurs, mental types, inventors. It tends to be more of the vata. I don't know if that rings a bell with you.
I suspect I've been told by other people that.
Yeah. It's pretty. Some people are pretty easy to see, and we all have all of these aspects within us, but some people to a lesser and larger degree. You can go online and do your Ayurvedic dosha test. It's kind of interesting to do that. But in the Tibetan meditation techniques, there are techniques that will emphasize calming the vata or increasing the pitta, the fire, the clarity, or motivating you to practice for the kapha types that might be lethargic or less likely to feel disciplined to practice. So, yeah, good. Okay, well, I want to move on to what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk more about, where are my glasses? Right behind me. Talk more about wisdom and emptiness, because I didn't have enough time to really go as deep as I wanted to in the last class. We talked about the Lojong, which is 2 classes ago. We've spent a few weeks on this one slogan that was very deep. It was number 14, I believe. We won't go over the whole slogan. If you're new tonight, you can read that. But what I want to talk to a little bit more is what this notion of emptiness is. You don't even really have to read the slogan, honestly, because I'm not going to unpack exactly what shunyata protection is, but that's in there. You might see it there. What I want to share with you tonight more specifically is how we understand it. So you may recall, or if you're new, maybe not, that emptiness in Sanskrit is shunyata. Shunyata. Shunya means empty. Ta is a suffix that means ness, like our suffix ness. So emptiness. The Tibetan is tongpa ni. Tongpa means empty. Nid or ni, NYID means ta or ness. So same. And what the Buddha taught is that all phenomena, whether it's internal phenomena, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, or external phenomena, the sky, clouds, birds, and so on, you, me, everything is empty of a solidly, separately existing nugget of selfhood. He taught anatma, means non-self. It doesn't mean that, you don't have your own identity here, but on an ultimate level, where is that self? Where is it? Is it some little mini me in your brain or some little mini me in your heart? Is it your skin, your eyes, your brain, your genetics? Like there's no one thing that we can point to and say that's Shoshana? Shoshana? Shanley, sorry. Yeah, I just met you. That's Shanley, right? Like, is it your nose, your eyes, your smile, your hair, your memories, your sense of self? But where is that? Can we peel you open and find that sense of self? Are we our brain? But that's just gray and white matter, really. Like, are we are we our neurons? I can't say that. These are all parts of ourselves, but there's no one thing that is Hannah or Katie or Mark. You see? So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of scary, like, what the fuck? Wait, I don't exist? But it's also exciting because in that emptiness, in that non-solidity-ness, there's a lot of freedom. And in fact, Robert Thurman, one of my favorite Western Dharma teachers, he's so brilliant and funny and weird. He often, more recently, is saying we can translate shunyata as freedom because being empty of something means you're free of it, right? Like sugar free, fat free, uh, what, so self free. I'm free of myself. Yay. It's liberating. Like no self, no problem, nothing to defend. We can have some fun. I mean, my kid who's 23, Tara, is non-binary. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's so Buddhist, like you're not getting stuck in the binary. Not male, not female. I mean, that's what the Buddhists have been saying all along. All of these are relative terms. On a relative level, they can exist and help us live our life and define our sense of self and our healthy sense of ego, right? But on the ultimate level, from the vantage point of like emptiness, all of those things are like fingers pointing at the moon. They're not the moon themselves. They're labels. They're mental frameworks that fall away under vipassana, deep insight, looking beneath the surface of things. So this is really, I love this stuff. This is really cool. And so I think I shared once with you also a little while ago that the great Indian Buddhist Asanga, one of the great teachers, I don't know his exact dates, but he's a long time ago, said that shunyata can also be translated as openness or open dimension of being. So again, that gets to that feeling of freedom, like anything's possible within the pregnant zero, shunyata, right? The great womb that gives birth to all manner of appearances, that type of, that vibrating field of energy and space. And so how do we, but okay, it's one thing to keep that up in the mental realm or the ether, but like, how do we bring this down to earth? I want to share with you some really kind of seminal teachings that are very common in Buddhism about this. How do we understand emptiness? And we do it through our mind, right? So the intellect is very important in Buddhism. We're not like, oh, I'm all intuitive and I just don't want to think about it. Like Buddhists are thinkers. The Buddha said, like, analyze my teachings and don't just accept them. So the mind is very important, but we don't want to only rely on the mind. But understanding emptiness does take some intellectual understanding. And then we can relax into the pure experience of it. But the mind will get us to some very important places. And we do that through prajna or prajna, Prajn with a little squiggle A. So prajna, you want to say that? Prajna, prajna, good. So this is wisdom, the word for wisdom. It's a Sanskrit word, prajna. But it also is closer in meaning to the word insight, like a deep seeing, or sometimes translated as discriminating, or I like discerning knowledge or wisdom. Also sometimes intuitive understanding. But etymologically, the Sanskrit word pragya is broken into two parts. The first is pra, which means deep or profound. We've explored that a bit with pragya paramita, right? Periphery is also another word. It kind of also, it doesn't mean just deep and profound, but it can also mean like all encompassing, like a periphery, expansive space. So pra is deep or profound. And then jna, Jna, is simply wisdom or knowledge. So it's deep knowledge, deep wisdom, deep knowing, intuitive knowing. That jna is also connected to our root, Gn or Kn, to know. So the Indo-European roots share a lot. And this is one example of that. We see the GN in gnosis, right? Gnosis, or cognition, right? The GN there. And then, of course, are commonly used to know, KNOW, knowledge, and so on. But on a basic level, the term prajna refers to a state of consciousness that results from inquiry, from investigation. And in this way, it functions to exclude doubt, which is important. You know, when we doubt something, we're not fully in. Like, are you in? Do you have both feet in? Well, I wouldn't expect you to have both feet in until you've really excluded all doubt. You've tested it out and you know for yourself, okay, yeah, I'm in. Like a relationship, right? Are you fully in? Well, you got to check it out for a while first before you jump in. Hopefully, we don't always do that sometimes. but on a broader level, pragya also refers to wisdom or insight that is birthed through direct perception into the true nature of reality. Direct perception. So not just reading about it, not just taking my word for it or Buddha's word for it, but like your own direct tasting of it. Like, you know, the analogy is like, I can describe what a tangerine tastes like to you, but you won't know what it tastes like until you take a bite. So liberation's the same way, emptiness is the same way. You have to taste it yourself. And then you know. You know. Right. And what's cool about emptiness is that's like shunyata is emptiness, right? But the other side of the coin is interdependence. So because all phenomena are interdependent, nothing exists in and of itself alone. They are therefore empty. Because phenomena is empty of intrinsic existence, it is therefore interdependent. So they go hand in hand. This is what that means, hand in hand. I got it. We have all these phrases we say, right, in our life, and we don't always know where they come from. I just got it, hand in hand. Hand in hand. So in Buddhist philosophy, particularly what's called Madhyamaka, which is this middle way, very refined, beautiful philosophical tradition, they say that when an object is empty, it's synonymous with saying that it is dependently arisen. And that goes for ourselves, right? Like I'm here because my mother and father, my genetics, my ancestry, the food, water, nourishment, all of those are dependently related factors that have come together to help make Chandra who she is right now in this moment. My karma, same with you, So I'm Chandra's dependently related. I'm a series of dependently related events, and therefore I am empty of intrinsic existence. You following me? We good? Do you feel the prajna, the wisdom sword, cutting through any doubt and delusion, maybe? Or at least starting a bit? Okay. Oh, I wish we had more time. Shoot. So maybe I'll just say a couple things. So conventional pragya or prajna, so conventional level of knowing is this understanding that we gain through analysis. It's not necessarily religious. It could be scientific, right? It could be logical, philosophical. But then there's another level, the absolute level of pragya or wisdom is the wisdom that arises from investigation into the way things really are, meaning understanding emptiness and dependent origination. It's more of a metaphysical understanding that comes from deep contemplation. So this can be both Buddhist and non-Buddhist, but it's more metaphysical. That's the absolute level. But then there's this perfect level of prajna. And this is this profound knowing, this profound wisdom gained through meditative absorption. So we take it out of the intellect and we drop it down into your spirit, your heart, the whole burrito, and through samadhi, meditative absorption, that's when you taste the tangerine of emptiness. That's that direct perception of it. We can only get so far with the intellect, and that's why we have to practice. That's why I wanted to introduce you to this idea first through the practice that we did in meditation, to feel it for yourself, even just to get a little bit of a smell of the tangerine, just a little whiff. And this is said to be completely, when you really have it, this direct perception of emptiness. It is non-conceptual and it's non-dual. I know that Michael Taft, how many people study with Michael Taft in the room? He teaches a lot on non-dual meditation. So this third level of pragya is non-dual, a non-dual experience. It's a result of analysis refined through deeper states of samadhi. And then the last thing I want to say, I had to write a paper on this a long time ago for my Buddhist teacher training. And so this is from my paper, and this is something I wanted to share, is that it's very interesting to note that this third aspect of shunyata really was popular in China, in the Chan tradition that also became Zen in Japan. And they concluded, based on this kind of non-dual, non-conceptual experience of emptiness, they would say that wisdom can actually not result from analysis. So they actually said, no, you can't analyze your way even close to it. But rather, it's a natural response to cutting analytical thought and conceptual thought. So there is some basis for this in the Indian Buddhist traditions, but they really took that and developed it to the point where many scholars believe that this idea of you can't do anything to have a realization of emptiness. It's just going to happen or it's not going to happen. That's basically what they're saying. Spontaneous liberation versus gradual path liberation. So some scholars say that this belief in Chan and Zen may have been a result of the commingling of the Mahayana, the great vehicle teachings of Indian Buddhism, with Taoist thought. the indigenous tradition, religion of China, because we see a very similar teaching in the Tao Te Ching. It's the first line of the Tao Te Ching. Does anybody know what that is? Do you want to say? Okay. It's this famous phrase, the Tao that can be known is not the eternal Tao. The Tao that can be known with the intellect is actually not the eternal Tao. You can't know it with your intellect. You can't know it with your conceptual mind. You can only know it by transcending concepts, transcending dualism. So I thought that would be a little interesting footnote to share. Taoism's fabulous. I mean, I actually sometimes think I'm Taoist more than Buddhist. I think it's really cool. And maybe there's a resonance there. And there's a lot more to be shared about that. There's a book out that came out maybe 10 years ago called Tibetan Zen. And it's a translation of a bunch of texts that were found more recently in an old cave that had been sealed up. And it's a lot of texts in Tibetan that talk about this spontaneous liberation. It wasn't so common. It was actually debunked in most Tibetan traditions. They thought that was sort of not logically foolproof. So it's an interesting old debate, but I thought I'd throw that out there. These different ways we can know things. So I hope that gets you thinking about, like, how do you know what you know? You know? You know? How do you know? But really, like, don't just believe this stuff. Like, analyze and then meditate on it. They say that I'll end with this and then we'll close. The way to study Dharma, and anything for that matter, is called Tu Sam Gom Sum in Tibetan, which means to listen or to read. That's Tu. Sam is to contemplate. Think about what you read or heard. Really chew on it for yourself. That's the analysis part of prajna. And then Gom is meditate on it. Then meditate on it. So don't just leave it in the analysis. Drop it down into the body and know it for yourself. So those are the 3 ways. So you could do that with a lot of different topics. Yeah, but particularly Dharma or spiritual stuff. So maybe to some gomit, You've heard it. You could read more about it. Then you could debate it with your friends over a cup of coffee or tea tonight. And then meditate on it. And if it makes sense, good, go with it. If it doesn't, then just move on. It's not for you, and that's okay too. Yeah? All right? All right. So let's close together by taking a moment to kind of psychically or imaginarily gather together the positive energy we've cultivated as a Sangha tonight, community, and then offer up any good energy, this merit, for the benefit of ourselves, our own growth, the growth of those in the room, and then beyond for all beings. Dedicating the merit for all beings everywhere. So for those of you who are following the slogans, that is shunyata protection, with prajna, understanding, emptiness, and that is the sense of this protects us from suffering, from birth and death, from you name it, from the ego, from ourselves. All right, so next week we'll continue with the next slogan, and you're welcome to drop in and out as much as you like. And I think, Hannah, do you have any announcements?
If you're new here, welcome. We have a bunch of events on
like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's 1 or 2 classes every night, and our whole list of events is on berkeleyolympic.org. We have on Saturday, our dance teacher Miriam is coming back after her summer hiatus, and she's doing a Sufi whirling workshop, kind of like breathwork community event called Turning Towards the Heart. So I just wanted to plug that one. We're excited to have